All right. Well, I'm live and I'm late, so huzzah. But it is what it is. I'm kind of crammed together today, in that I'm actually getting ready to get back on the road. Welcome if anybody's here. Please say so in the chat. I don't really expect a whole lot of humans to be in this. I don't advertise it. It's really just kind of my side thing that I'm doing for me. But I kind of want to go over each week throughout the year. That's what the vlog series is, of what I did last week and kind of what I've got coming up the next week, and just kind of share a log of my life, a vlog, I suppose, by that definition. So also, you may have noticed that I called this one AI Will Figure It Out. That's because I've been using a new AI workflow that goes through and takes these afterwards and then kind of changes them, puts in chapter descriptions, breaks it down, gives me a theme for it, gives me a title, all that fun stuff. And if anybody's curious, I'd love to unpack that at some point. But yeah, this is going to be a short one as well. I didn't have a lot of stuff last week, at all, really. I think I had 3 live presentations that I did last week, which, to some might say that's a lot, but for me, that's it's not a lot. Ultimately, I mean, that's probably certainly not the most dense. But I have had this just constant stress of 2 major projects this last week, right? And 2 weeks now, if you watched my last vlog, if anybody did. But it's both preparing for RSA, and getting ready for those 2 talks. And if you're not familiar with RSA, there's just a pretty matriculated process in which you go through to get all of your tasks ready for acceptance. Like, the first review of the draft deck was due on the 4th, and so we got that done, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I'm trying to record this session with or for Empath and for anybody else that really wants it, just as kind of an open source, my thoughts on every safeguard from CIS, right? So all 153 safeguards in like 2.5 minutes per safeguard or less, 3 minutes, but that ends up being, um, you know, scripted for some portion, thoughts for the rest of it, and then retake, store, get it ready for the editors. They're going to do their stuff, and then kind of move on. And it's been just constant this last 2 weeks. I mean, just literally, I have 2 colors that show up constantly. So my reds are my normal live streams, and then green is my prep for a talk, which can sometimes be like, I mean, as I talked about in the last episode, it could be a lot of hours. And then I also have another color for this project, the CIS. Anytime it's directly SME related to CIS, or Center for Internet Security's critical controls or framework mapping, things of that nature, it's going to be in that color. So my whole week was just that, dotted with 30-minute meetings about, boot camp and momentum and security boot camp operational meeting, and meetings about different products and stuff that I'm looking at with other people. So it's just like, it was like I think one day I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 meetings before noon, that were in there. It was just that was the 5th. That was brutal. Yeah, and then a couple live streams, right? I did the live stream, and one of the things I'm finding on the live streams too, I had only 3 live streams last week. One was this, which is kind of cheating, right? Because I'm adding an increment once every week for this show, but I'm counting it. I'm the only one judging here, so I'm going to count it. But then the other, oh goodness gracious. Okay, stream, yeah, so I'm going to count it. And then the next one was the game, and that's what I was getting to actually when we went down this path. Is the second live stream that week was the game, which has gotten more and more views. I mean, we had like, I think 256 views of the one we just did last week on talking about device-based phishing was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and it had like 200 something views. So a lot of the more technical tacticals are getting way more views, and the more rhetoric and kind of not necessarily technical tactical, more discussion ones are still staying fairly low. So it's showing me people are very digging into the actual tools and trying to understand the tools, and so that's what we're going to continue to focus on. This week, I think we're going to be doing a Kali Linux build. And so we're going to be digging into just how to set up your own kind of home lab, your home penetration testing capabilities and skills and tools and such, just to be able to kind of start learning the attacker's tools, the adversary tools. And I'm always an advocate for platforms like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box. I think they just make it very easy to learn. But I would say building your own lab and doing it yourself makes it more kinesthetically valuable, I think, sometimes too. So I think there's balance of both that you need to be doing. So the game is digging into trying to just get more and more into those kind of the nerdy bits as we talk about it, of actually kind of showcasing the tools themselves. I think last week we did Trevor Spray, or 1 week we did Trevor Spray, 1 week we did Graph Runner. So we've had discussions about a whole lot of other ones. So I kind of mixed those up of the pre-production or actually in production. But then the next morning I had kind of a just, you have those presentations where something just doesn't go right the whole way through, right? Like somebody's internet's down, or the person that's running it can't get the slide deck up, or you haven't prepped, or maybe a guest isn't speaking or talking, or and it was just one of those days where just like it was just so bad. And so we had that presentation, but it was just one of those where you just walk away not feeling like you were very effective, right? Not necessarily for my own reasons, my own performance, yes, and then also all the other factors and the stress level. And I jumped in as the host, as the side host for this, just to make up for that. And I just don't feel like I delivered what I would have delivered had I known I was doing it myself and planning it and all those fun things. And so it's just kind of one of those maybe undue but real challenges. What else did I do? Let's see here. Just getting messages from Dom during the middle of this. Sorry about that. I got distracted. Squirrel. What else happened last week? So digging into a lot more people focusing on, and then we'll get into it from me recapping next week about today's live stream, but recapping this kind of shift to cloud and what that's doing to the ecosystem, and shift of the attackers and threat vectors to cloud. If you look at the threat report from CrowdStrike, and you see this like mostly malwareless, mostly shifting to identity, mostly shifting to, which is stuff we've been talking about for years, and a lot of that stuff is what we're demoing on the game this week. But been talking to a lot of new product vendors that are also stepping into managing that space. So there's just a lot of attention there in general, and it's great because it's kind of my space. That's what I like to talk about, is that very identity centric attack plane and what that means. But it is also unfortunate because that's another shifted space where, why does it work? I mean, Pika said it today. It's the tush push. Why do you use the tush push? Because it works. Why would you reinvent that, right? Like, why would you do that? And so, like, it's one of those things where threat actors are moving to where it works, and that's what we're seeing with that shift to cloud and shift away from malware, and where the EDR and MDR are going to have the same direct visibility on the endpoint. What else? A lot of webinar prep too. A lot of stuff prepping. I'm super excited about the security boot camp. We already have, I think it's like 66 people of the kind of predicted 100 people we like to try to target for that show signed up. That's going to be in April up in Chicago, and we're doing a very capture the flag themed kind of murder mystery kind of engagement where we've made a fake company. We're going to build it up. We're going to kick it down. We're going to look at it, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to have points to win. And we're going to have prizes to win. And we're going to have a very different engagement than most conferences. And it's already pretty well signed up. Just got a lot of work to do in the next couple of weeks around the operations of it, the creative side of it that has to be dealt with, which gets, a lot of hours in the next couple of weeks that we're going to be dealing with. But yeah, last week was pretty much just recording videos. I think, I don't know. Let's see live. How many videos did I record? Doop-a-doop-a-doop. If anybody's in the chat, say hey. Let's go. Where is that file folder? It is the properties. Okay, well, this is cooking up. There are 253 files in this that are in this kind of course that I've created. So that means I've already recorded something like 120 something videos plus some other like side things that are in there of the 153. So I'm getting really close to being done with that recording for CIS course that I'm building for Empath and for other places. I think maybe even John Strand at Anti-Siphon said he might use it as well. But it's really just a very simple safeguard by safeguard videos. And so I'm almost done making those. And super excited because this week, getting ahead of it, is actually flying time again, because I didn't actually have any more class hours. I'd finished up that course, and the next one doesn't start for a little while. No new flights, no new hotels, although I missed a +1 that needs to change to a plus. No, it's +0. We're good. And then no cars, no taxis, no driving, no cities. That's going to change. I leave today to head to Irvine, California. I'm going to be there for all of like 20 something hours, 21 hours, and then teaching in the morning. I'd really like to talk about this modality, actually. And if anybody's watching and wants to chat about it, if not, it doesn't matter. But I've started a new way of kind of trying to teach the CIS controls. Instead of teaching them from "Thou shalt protect your identity plane," and looking at it from that perspective, I did a tie-in to talk about it from a survivorship bias perspective, right? Of saying, like, if you look at the World War II thought experiment of planes coming back and where would you reinforce, often people reinforce where the bullet holes are. Instead of saying, hey, let's figure out where the dead bodies are and let's reinforce where the dead bodies got shot. Maybe it's those places missing shots right now in the obverse by believing that we brought back the survivors. Anyways, the point being is taking that and looking at modern kind of breaches, well written up modern breaches, anything in the last 5 or 6 years that's been well written, where, like, for example, Talos writes up the Cisco kind of debrief afterwards, and we get to dig into that of 2023. And then looking at it and saying, let's look at find a kill chain. What happened here? All right, this bloke synced his credentials for work. He either synced them locally on his browser or he synced them in his home browser, right? So either on the work asset where he synced it in his personal account on the work browser, or at his home personal account where he was then accessing work resources. But one way or the other, this person synced their credentials. And we can talk about which one's a failure. Well, if they failed by the browser at work being able to have an identity that's signed in that is not related to work, then the 9.1 aspects of that and potentially even 5.1 aspects of that from CIS might be a failure. However, if the user additional to 14.x aspects, right, of where we store credentials, how we manage credentials, but then also when we're talking about it, if he stored it at home or she stored it at home, then the argument would be, it'd be a raw training failure in that regard, right, of helping them understand. It'd also be shifting now what is an asset, and that conversation might be part of the failure chain. But essentially taking and using the deaths of these others to say, where can I change and be better relative to CIS safeguards, and draw that up in a kind of visual. And so I'm actually just going to be presenting that tomorrow and on Wednesday in two different people, groups of people, both MSP consumers, but talking about using breach analysis on your own way, even if you're not perfect at it, to enhance your own safeguards and understanding of those safeguards and controls. And so that's what I've been working on, a lot of that this week that I'll be delivering this week. So I'm excited. But this isn't a vlog to talk about what might be happening. This is a vlog about what did happen. And that's pretty much it. Again, I'm sorry for the boring back-to-back weeks, but it's I guess one other thing I didn't cover is we're going to make a new podcast because I don't have enough things to do every day. But Nathan Taylor, myself, and Dom Kirby are going to make a new podcast. We're trying to come up with a name for it. But it's going to be fun, and it may not be completely technical or security related. We're going to call it maybe Zero Trust Issues or something to that nature, but something fun. But we're going to get into a whole lot of other topics and content as a podcast. So that was a cool meeting last week when Nathan reached out and wanted to do that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And since I don't have any other things, and I've got to rush to an airport here pretty soon, and I have one more meeting to do, three more meetings to do. I'm going to get through that today, and I have technically met my requirement to continue doing this every week. If y'all aren't familiar, I'm trying to do a vlog every week that I don't really advertise, that just lives on my YouTube, where I just kind of talk about what I want to talk about every week. And this week I just didn't really have a topic other than how tired I suppose you get when you're doing all this prep work, but not actually getting to do any stage time. And that changes. I get to go out and present this week. So see y'all later. See you on the